The Boeing F/A-18E and F/A-18F Super Hornet are twin-engine carrier-capable multi-role fighter aircraft variants based on the McDonnell Douglas F/A-18 Hornet. The F/A-18E single-seat and F/A-18F tandem-seat variants are larger and more advanced derivatives of the F/A-18C and D Hornet. The Super Hornet has an internal 20mm M61 rotary cannon and can carry air-to-air missiles and air-to-surface weapons. Additional fuel can be carried in up to 5 external fuel tanks, and the aircraft can be configured as an airborne tanker by adding an external air refueling system. Designed and initially produced by McDonnell Douglas, the Super Hornet first flew in 1995. Low-rate production began in early 1997, with full-rate production starting in September 1997, after the merger of McDonnell Douglas and Boeing the previous month. The Super Hornet entered service with the United States Navy in 1999, replacing the Grumman F-14 Tomcat, which was retired in 2006. The Super Hornet serves alongside the original Hornet. The Royal Australian Air Force, RAF, which has operated the F/A-18A as its main fighter since 1984, ordered the F/A-18F in 2007 to replace its aging F-111C fleet. RAF Super Hornets entered service in December 2010. Development. Origins. The Super Hornet is an evolutionary redesign of the McDonnell Douglas F/A-18 Hornet. The Super Hornet's unique wing and tail configuration can be traced back to an internal Northrop Project P530, c. 1965. This had started as a substantial rework of the lightweight F-5E with a larger wing, twin tail fins and a distinctive leading edge root extension, LERX. Later flying as the Northrop YF-17 Cobra, it competed in the United States Air Force's Lightweight Fighter, LWF, program to produce a smaller and simpler fighter to complement the larger McDonnell Douglas F-15 Eagle. The YF-17 lost the competition to the YF-16. The Navy directed that the YF-17 be redesigned into the larger F/A-18 Hornet to meet a requirement for a multi-role fighter to complement the larger and more expensive Grumman F-14 Tomcat, serving in fleet defense, interceptor and air superiority roles. The Hornet proved to be effective but limited in combat radius. The concept of an enlarged Hornet was first proposed in the 1980s, which was marketed by McDonnell Douglas as Hornet 2000. The Hornet 2000 concept was an advanced F/A-18 with a larger wing and a longer fuselage to carry more fuel and more powerful engines. The end of the Cold War led to a period of military budget cuts and considerable restructuring. At the same time, U.S. naval aviation faced a number of problems. The McDonnell Douglas A-12 Avenger II was cancelled in 1991 after the program ran into serious problems. It was intended to replace the obsolete Grumman A-6 Intruder and LTV A-7 Corsair II. The Navy considered updating an existing design as a more attractive approach to a clean sheet program. As an alternative to the A-12, McDonnell Douglas proposed the Super Hornet, initially Hornet II in the 1980s, an improvement of the successful previous F/A-18 models, which could serve as an alternate replacement for the A-6 Intruder. The next generation Hornet design proved more attractive than Grumman's quick strike upgrade to the F-14 Tomcat, which was regarded as an insufficient technological leap over existing F-14s. At the time, the Grumman F-14 Tomcat was the Navy's primary air superiority fighter and fleet defense interceptor. Then Secretary of Defense Dick Cheney described the F-14 as 1960s technology, and drastically cut back F-14D procurement in 1989 before cancelling production altogether in 1991, in favor of the updated F/A-18E/F. The decision to replace the Tomcat with an all-Hornet carrier air wing was controversial. Vietnam War ace and Congressman Duke Cunningham criticized the Super Hornet as an unproven design that compromised air superiority. In 1992, the Navy cancelled the Navy Advanced Tactical Fighter, NATF, which would have been a navalized variant of the Air Force's Lockheed Martin F-22 Raptor. As a cheaper alternative to NATF, Grumman proposed substantial improvements to the F-14 beyond quick strike, but Congress rejected them as too costly and reaffirmed its commitment to the less expensive F/A-18E/F. Testing and production. The Super Hornet was first ordered by the U.S. Navy in 1992. The Navy retained the F/A-18 designation to help sell the program to Congress as a low-risk derivative, though the Super Hornet is largely a new aircraft. The Hornet and Super Hornet share many characteristics, including avionics, ejection seats, radar, armament, mission computer software, and maintenance/operating procedures. The initial F/A-18E/F retained most of the avionics systems from the F/A-18C/D's configuration at the time. The design would be expanded in the Super Hornet with an empty weight slightly greater than the F-15C. The Super Hornet first flew on November 29, 1995. Initial production on the F/A-18E/F began in 1995. Flight testing started in 1996 with the F/A-18E/F's first carrier landing in 1997. Low-rate production began in March 1997 with full production beginning in September 1997. Testing continued through 1999, finishing with sea trials and aerial refueling demonstrations. Testing involved 3,100 test flights covering 4,600 flight hours. The Super Hornet underwent U.S. Navy operational tests and evaluations in 1999, and was approved in February 2000. With the retirement of the F-14 in 2006, all of the Navy's combat jets are Hornet variants until the introduction of the F-35C Lightning II. The F/A-18E single-seat and F/A-18F two-seat aircraft took the place of the F-14 Tomcat, A-6 Intruder, Lockheed S-3 Viking, and Ka-6D aircraft. An electronic warfare variant, the EA-18G Growler, replaces the EA-6B Prowler. The Navy calls this reduction in aircraft types a neck-down. During the Vietnam War era, the Super Hornet's roles were performed by a combination of the A-1/A-4/A-7, light attack, A-6, medium attack, F-8/F-4, fighter, RA-5C, recon, Ka-3/Ka-6, tanker, and EA-6, electronic warfare. It was anticipated that $1 billion in fleet-wide annual savings would result from replacing other types with the Super Hornet. The Navy considers the Super Hornet's acquisition a success, meeting cost, schedule, and weight, 400 pounds, 181 kilograms below, requirements. Improvements and changes. The Block II Super Hornet incorporates an improved active electronically scanned array, AESA, radar, larger displays, the joint helmet-mounted cueing system, and several other avionics replacements. Avionics and weapons systems that were under development for the prospective production version of the Boeing X-32 were used on the Block II Super Hornet. New-build aircraft received the APG-79 AESA radar beginning in 2005. In January 2008, it was announced that 135 earlier production aircraft were to be retrofitted with AESA radars. In 2008, Boeing discussed the development of a Super Hornet Block III with the US and Australian military, featuring additional stealth capabilities and extended range. In 2010, Boeing offered prospective Super Hornet customers the International Roadmap, which included conformal fuel tanks, enhanced engines, an enclosed weapons pod, EWP, a next-generation cockpit, a new missile warning system, and an internal infrared search and track, IRST, system. The EWP has 4 internal stations for munitions. A single aircraft can carry a total of 3 EWPs, housing up to 12 AMRAAMs and 2 sidewinders. The next-generation cockpit features a 19x11-inch touch-sensitive display. In 2011, Boeing received a U.S. Navy contract to develop a new mission computer. In 2007, Boeing stated that a passive infrared search and track, IRST, sensor would be an available future option. The sensor, mounted in a modified center-line fuel tank, detects long-wave IR emissions to spot and track targets such as aircraft, Combat using the IRST and AIM-9X Sidewinder missiles is immune to radar jamming. In May 2009, Lockheed Martin announced its selection by Boeing for the IRST's technology development phase, and a contract followed in November 2011. As of September 2013, a basic IRST would be fielded in 2016 and a longer-range version in 2019. Sequestration cuts in 2013 could cause 2 years of delays. An F/A-18F performed a flight equipped with the IRST system in February 2014, and Milestone C approval authorizing low-rate initial production, LRIP, was granted in December 2014. Advanced Super Hornet. Boeing and Northrop Grumman self-funded a prototype of the Advanced Super Hornet. The prototype features a 50% reduction in frontal radar cross-section, RCS, conformal fuel tanks, CFT, and an enclosed weapons pod. Features could also be integrated onto the EA-18G Growler. Using CFTs on the EA-18 fleet was speculated as useful to releasing underwing space and drag margin for the next-generation jammer. Flight tests of the Advanced Super Hornet began on August 5, 2013 and continued for 3 weeks, testing the performance of CFTs, the enclosed weapons pod, EWP, and signature enhancements. The U.S. Navy was reportedly pleased with the Advanced Super Hornet's flight test results, and hopes it will provide future procurement options. In March 2013, the U.S. Navy was considering the widespread adoption of conformal fuel tanks, which would allow the Super Hornet to carry 3,500 pounds, 1,600 kilograms, of additional fuel. Budgetary pressures from the F-35C Lightning II and Pacific Region operations were cited as reasons supporting the use of CFTs. Flight testing demonstrated CFTs could slightly reduce drag while expanding the combat range by 260 nautical miles. The prototype CFT weighed 1,500 pounds, while production CFTs are expected to weigh 870 pounds. Boeing stated that the CFTs do not add any cruise drag but acknowledged a negative impact imposed on transonic acceleration due to increased wave drag. General Electric's Enhanced Performance Engine, EPE, increasing the F414 GE400's power output from 22,000 pounds to 26,400 pounds of thrust per engine, was suggested as a mitigating measure. In 2009, development commenced on several engine improvements, including greater resistance to foreign object damage, reduced fuel burn rate, and potentially increased thrust of up to 20%. In 2014, Boeing revealed a Super Hornet hybrid concept, equipped with the EA-18G Growler's electronic signal detection capabilities to allow for targets engagement using the receiver. The concept did not include the ALQ-99 jamming pod. Growth capabilities could include the addition of a long-range infrared search and track sensor and new air-to-air tracking modes. In September 2014, Boeing readied plans to close its St. Louis production lines for the Super Hornet and F-15 in 2017. Chris Chadwick, president of Boeing Defense, Space, and Security, told the Wall Street Journal that, although we're still solidly behind them, the company could have decided by April 2015 whether to shut down both assembly lines and close the factory, but chose to keep the Super Hornet line going. Due to various Pentagon contracts, Boeing had enough orders to keep things running into 2017 to give Boeing the opportunity to firm up more international orders. Design. Overview. The Hornet and Super Hornet share many characteristics, including avionics, ejection seats, radar, armament, mission computer software, and maintenance/operating procedures. The Super Hornet is largely a new aircraft at about 20% larger, 7,000 pounds, 3,200 kilograms, heavier empty weight, and 15,000 pounds, 6,800 kilograms, heavier maximum weight than the original Hornet. The Super Hornet carries 33% more internal fuel, increasing mission range by 41% and endurance by 50% over the legacy Hornet. The empty weight of the Super Hornet is about 11,000 pounds, 5,000 kilograms, less than that of the F-14 Tomcat which it replaced, while approaching, but not matching, the F-14's payload and range. As the Super Hornet is significantly heavier than the Legacy Hornet, the catapult and arresting systems must be set differently. To aid safe flight operations and prevent confusion in radio calls, the Super Hornet is informally referred to as the Rhino to distinguish it from earlier Hornets. The Rhino nickname was previously applied to the McDonnell Douglas F-4 Phantom II, which was retired from the fleet in 1987. The Super Hornet, unlike the previous Hornet, is designed to be equipped with an aerial refueling system, ARS, or buddy store for the refueling of other aircraft, filling the tactical airborne tanker role the Navy had lost with the retirement of the KA-6D and Lockheed S-3B Viking tankers. The ARS includes an external 330 US gal, 1200 L, tank with hose reel on the center line, along with 4 external 480 US gal, 1800 L, tanks and internal tanks, for a total of 29,000 pounds, 13,000 kilograms, of fuel on the aircraft. On typical missions, a fifth of the air wing is dedicated to the tanker role, which consumes aircraft fatigue life expectancy faster than other missions. Airframe changes. The forward fuselage is unchanged, but the remainder of the aircraft shares little with earlier F/A-18C/D models. The fuselage was stretched by 34 in, 86 centimeters, to make room for fuel and future avionics upgrades and increase the wing area by 25%. However, the Super Hornet has 42% fewer structural parts than the original Hornet design. The General Electric F414 engine, developed from the Hornet's F404, has 35% additional thrust over most of the aircraft's flight envelope. The Super Hornet can return to an aircraft carrier with a larger load of unspent fuel and munitions than the original Hornet. This ability is known as bring back, which for the Super Hornet is in excess of 9,000 pounds, 4,100 kilograms. Other differences include intake ramps for the engines and 2 extra wing hardpoints for payload, for a total of 11, retaining previous hardpoints on the bottom center line, wingtips, and 2 conformal fuselage positions. Among the most significant aerodynamic changes are the enlarged leading edge extensions, LEX, which provide improved vortex lifting characteristics in high angle of attack maneuvers, and reduce the static stability margin to enhance pitching characteristics. This results in pitch rates in excess of 40 degrees per second, and high resistance to departure from controlled flight. Radar signature reduction measures. Survivability is an important feature of the Super Hornet design. The U.S. Navy took a balanced approach to survivability in its design. This means that it does not rely on very low observable technology, i.e. stealth. Instead, its design incorporates a combination of signature reduction, advanced electronic warfare capabilities, reduced ballistic vulnerability, the use of standoff weapons, and innovative tactics that collectively enhance the safety of the fighter and crew in an affordable manner. The F/A-18E/F's radar cross-section was reduced greatly from some aspects, mainly the front and rear. The design of the engine inlets reduces the aircraft's frontal radar cross-section. The alignment of the leading edges of the engine inlets is designed to scatter radiation to the sides. Fixed fan-like reflecting structures in the inlet tunnel divert radar energy away from the rotating fan blades. The Super Hornet also makes considerable use of panel joint serration and edge alignment. Considerable attention has been paid to the removal or filling of unnecessary surface join gaps and resonant cavities. Where the F/A-18AD used grills to cover various accessory exhaust and inlet ducts, the F/A-18E/F uses perforated panels that appear opaque to radar waves at the frequencies used. Careful attention has been paid to the alignment of many panel boundaries and edges, to direct reflected waves away from the aircraft in uniformly narrow angles. The Super Hornet employs reportedly the most extensive radar cross-section reduction measures of any contemporary fighter, other than the F-22 and F-35 as of 2004. While the F/A-18E/F is not a stealth fighter like the F-22, It will have a frontal radar cross-section an order of magnitude smaller than prior generation fighters. Additional changes for reducing RCS can be installed on an as-needed basis. Avionics. Initially, the Super Hornet's avionics and software had a 90% commonality with that of the F/A-18C/D fleet at the time. Differences include an upfront touchscreen control display, a large multipurpose color liquid crystal display, and a fuel display. The Super Hornet has a quadruplex digital fly-by-wire system, as well as a digital flight control system that detects and corrects for battle damage. Initial production models used the APG-73 radar, later replaced by the AN/APG-79 Active Electronically Scanned Array, AESA. The AN/ASQ-228 ATFLIR, Advanced Targeting Forward-Looking Infrared, is the main electro-optical sensor and laser designator pod for the Super Hornet. The communications equipment consist of an AN/ARC-210 VHF/UHF radio and a MIDS JTRS low-volume terminal for HAV-Quick, SYNCARS, and Link 16 connectivity. The defensive countermeasures of Block I aircraft includes the AN/ALR-67 V3 radar warning receiver, the AN/AL-47 countermeasures dispenser, the AN/AL-50 towed decoy and the AN/ALQ-165 airborne self-protect jammer, ASPJ. Block II aircraft replace the ALQ-165 with the AN/ALQ-214 integrated defensive countermeasures, IDICM, system, consisting of internally mounted threat receivers and optional self-protection jammers. Interior and exterior lighting on the Block II was changed to allow the use of night vision devices. The older AL-50 decoys are being replaced by AL-55 towed decoys, which can transmit jamming signals based on data received from the IDICM. The improved AN/ALQ-214 jammer was added on Block II aircraft. Block II aircraft were fitted with the AN/APG-79 AESA radar, capable of executing simultaneous air-to-air and air-to-ground attacks, and providing higher quality high-resolution ground mapping at long standoff ranges. The AESA radar can also detect smaller targets, such as inbound missiles, and can track air targets beyond the range of the aircraft's air-to-air missiles. VFA-213, the first Super Hornet squadron to fly AESA-equipped Super Hornets, became safe for flight, independently fly and maintain the F/A-18F, on October 27, 2006. The first Super Hornet upgraded with the Joint Helmet-Mounted Cueing System, JHMCS, was delivered to VFA-213 on May 18, 2007. The JHMCS provides multi-purpose situational awareness, which includes high off-boresight missile cueing. The Shared Reconnaissance Pod, SHARP, is a high-resolution, digital tactical aerial reconnaissance system that features advanced day/night and all-weather capability. The Multifunctional Information Distribution System low-volume communication terminal is being upgraded with the MIDS JTRS system, which will allow a tenfold increase in bandwidth as well as compatibility with the Joint Tactical Radio System standards. Operational history. United States Navy. The Super Hornet achieved initial operating capability, IOC, in September 2001 with the U.S. Navy's Strike Fighter Squadron 115, VFA-115, at Naval Air Station Lemoore, California. VFA-115 was also the first unit to take their F/A-18 Super Hornets into combat. On November 6, 2002, two F/A-18Es conducted a response option strike in support of Operation Southern Watch on two surface-to-air missile launchers at Al Qud, Iraq, and an Air Defense Command and Control bunker at Tallil Air Base. One of the pilots dropped 2,000 pounds, 910 kilograms, JDAM bombs from the Super Hornet for the first time during combat. In support of Operation Iraqi Freedom, Iraq War, VFA-14, VFA-41 and VFA-115 flew close air support, strike, escort, SEAD, and aerial refueling sorties. Two F/A-18Es from VFA-14 and two F/A-18FS from VFA-41 were forward deployed to the Abraham Lincoln. The VFA-14 aircraft flew mostly as aerial refuelers and the VFA-41 fighters as forward air controller, airborne, or FAC, A.S. On April 6, 2005, VFA-154 and VFA-147, the latter squadron then still operating F/A-18CS, dropped two 500-pound, 230 kilograms, laser-guided bombs on an enemy insurgent location east of Baghdad. On September 8, 2006, VFA-211 F/A-18F Super Hornets expended GBU-12 and GBU-38 bombs against Taliban fighters and Taliban fortifications west and northwest of Kandahar. This was the first time the unit had participated in an active combat capacity using the Super Hornet. During the 2006 to 2007 cruise with Dwight D. Eisenhower, VFA-103 and VFA-143 supported Operations Iraqi Freedom, Enduring Freedom, and operations off the Somali coast. Alongside Legacy Hornet squadrons, VFA-131 and VFA-83, they dropped 140 precision-guided weapons and performed nearly 70 strafing runs. The Super Hornet can operate from the French carrier Charles de Gaulle, R-91. In 2007, Boeing proposed additional F/A-18E/FS to the U.S. Navy in a multi-year contract. As of October 2008, Boeing had delivered 367 Super Hornets to the U.S. Navy. On April 6, 2009, Defense Secretary Gates announced that the Department of Defense intended to acquire 31 F/A-18s in FY 2010. Congress requested the DoD study a further multi-year contract so that a projected fighter shortfall could be averted. In 2006, the Navy was 60 fighters below its validated aircraft requirement. The FY 2010 budget bill authorized a multi-year purchase agreement for additional Super Hornets. A multi-year contract was finalized on September 28, 2010, reported as saving $600 million over individual yearly contracts, for 66 Super Hornets and 58 Growlers to mitigate a 4-year delay in the F-35 program. On August 7, 2014, U.S. defense officials announced they had been authorized to launch bombing missions upon Islamic State forces in northern Iraq. The decision to take direct action was made to protect U.S. personnel in the city of Erbil and to ensure the safety of transport aircraft making airdrops to Yazidi civilians. Early on August 8, 2 Super Hornets took off from the George H.W. Bush and dropped 500-pound laser-guided bombs on a mobile artillery piece the militants had been using to shell Kurdish forces defending the city. Later that day, 4 more aircraft struck a 7-vehicle convoy and a mortar position. On June 18, 2017, a U.S. Navy F/A-18E shot down a Syrian Air Force Su-22 fighter bomber that allegedly had bombed a position held by U.S.-supported Syrian Democratic Forces, SDF, near Tubksa. According to the Syrian government, the Su-22 was bombing a position held by Islamic State. This was the first aerial kill of a manned aircraft by an American fighter since 1999, the first kill by a Super Hornet, and the third kill by F/A-18 aircraft. The shootdown was executed by Lieutenant Commander Michael Mob Tremel, a pilot assigned to Strike Fighter Squadron 87 aboard the carrier George H.W. Bush. An E-3 Sentry issued several warnings to the Su-22, and after it dropped bombs near SDF fighters, Tremel independently made the call to shoot down the aircraft based on established rules of engagement. The Super Hornet first fired an AIM-9X Sidewinder which missed, then fired an AIM-120 AMRAAM which hit. The entire encounter lasted 8 minutes. Royal Australian Air Force. On May 3, 2007, the Australian government signed a $2.9 billion contract to acquire 24 F/A-18FS for the Royal Australian Air Force, RAF, as an interim replacement for aging F-111s. The total cost with training and support over 10 years was expected to be $6 billion, $4.6 billion US dollars. The order was controversial. Air Vice Marshal, RET, Peter Criss, a former air commander, said he was absolutely astounded that $6 billion would be spent on an interim aircraft, and cited evidence given by the U.S. Senate Armed Services Committee that the Super Hornet Block I's specific excess power is inferior to the MiG-29 and Su-30 being operated, or ordered, by multiple air forces in Southeast Asia. Air Commodore, RET, Ted Bushell stated that the F/A-18F could not perform the assigned role, and that the F-111 was suitable for the strategic deterrent/strike role until at least 2020. It was claimed the F/A-18F purchase may ease additional Australian Super Hornet sales, particularly if the F-35 program ran into more difficulty. A review was announced on December 31, 2007, by the new Australian Labor government, as part of a wider review of the RAF's combat aircraft procurement plans. The main reasons given were concerns over operational suitability, the lack of a proper review process, and internal beliefs that an interim fighter was not required. On March 17, 2008, the government announced that it would proceed with plans to acquire all 24 F/A-18Fs. Defense Minister Joel Fitzgibbon said that the Super Hornet was an excellent aircraft. He also indicated that costs and logistical factors contributed to the decision. The F-111's retirement was irreversible, only the F/A-18F could meet the time frame, and that cancellation would bring significant financial penalties and create understandable tensions between the contract partners. The Block II package aircraft offered to the RAF include installed engines and 6 spares, APG-79 AESA radars, Link 16 connectivity, LAU-127 guided missile launchers, AN/AL-55 fiber optic towed decoys and other equipment. The government has also sought U.S. export approval for Boeing EA-18G Growlers. On February 27, 2009, Fitzgibbon announced that 12 of the 24 Super Hornets would be wired on the production line for future modification as EA-18Gs. The additional wiring would cost $35 million. The final decision on conversion to EA-18Gs, at a cost of $300 million, would be made in 2012. The first RAF Super Hornet was completed in 2009 and first flew from Boeing's factory in St. Louis, Missouri on July 21, 2009. RAF crews began training in the U.S. in 2009. The RAF's first 5 F/A-18Fs arrived at their home base, RAF Base Amberley in Queensland, on March 26, 2010, and were joined by 6 more aircraft on July 7, 2010. Following the arrival of another 4 aircraft in December 2010, the first RAF F/A-18F squadron was declared operational on December 9, 2010. In December 2012, the Australian government sought information from the United States about the cost of acquiring a further 24 F/A-18Fs, which may be purchased to avoid a capability gap due to F-35 program delays. In February 2013, the U.S. Defense Security Cooperation Agency notified Congress of a possible foreign military sale to Australia for up to 12 F/A-18E/F and 12 EA-18G Growler aircraft with associated equipment, training, and logistical support. In May 2013, Australia announced they would retain the 24 F/A-18F instead of converting them, and will order 12 new EA-18Gs. In June 2014, Boeing was awarded the contract for the 12 EA-18Gs, and the first EA-18G for Australia was rolled out on July 29, 2015. On September 24, 2014, 8 RAF F/A-18Fs, along with a tanker, an early warning aircraft, and 400 personnel arrived in the United Arab Emirates to take part in operations against Islamic State, IS, militants. On October 5, 2014, the RAF officially started combat missions over Iraq, with a pair of F/A-18Fs armed with GPS-guided bombs and a KC-30A refueling aircraft. They returned safely to base without attacking targets. On October 8, 2014, an Australian Super Hornet conducted its first attack against IS forces, dropping 2 bombs on an ISIL facility in northern Iraq. Potential operators. Canada. The Super Hornet is considered a contender to replace the CF-18 Hornet, a version of the F/A-18A and B models, operated by the Royal Canadian Air Force. Like the older Hornet, the Super Hornet's carrier-capable design would be well suited to the potential use on rugged forward operational airfields of northern Canada, while the Super Hornet's extended range would remove its predecessor's main deficiencies. Due to design commonalities, training and integration would be straightforward in transitioning to the Super Hornet. In 2010, Canada decided on sole source selection of the F-35A. Boeing claimed the Canadian government ignored the Super Hornet's radar cross-section characteristics during the procurement process. In April 2012, Canada was reviewing its plans to procure the F-35 and may consider buying the Super Hornet instead. In September 2013, Boeing provided Canada with cost and capability data for its advanced F/A-18 Super Hornet, suggesting that a fleet of 65 aircraft would cost $1.7 billion less than a fleet of F-35s. The advanced Super Hornet builds upon the Super Hornet design. The U.S. Navy buys Super Hornets for $52 million per aircraft, while the advanced version would cost $6 to $10 million more per aircraft, depending on options selected. As a result of the 2015 Canadian federal election, the new Liberal government indicated that it would launch a competition to replace the Canadian CF-18 fleet. During the election, Liberal leader Justin Trudeau stated that his government would not buy the F-35. However, there has been no public refusal to buying the F-35 since the election. On November 22, 2016, the Liberal government announced its intention to immediately acquire 18 Super Hornets on an interim basis. A letter of request by the Canadian government was issued March 14, 2017 for 18 Super Hornets. The pending sale of 18 fighters to Canada along with a possible sale of another 70 may be adversely affected by Boeing's actions against competitor Bombardier Aerospace of Montreal, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau warned. These included a complaint to the U.S. government about Bombardier selling C-Series passenger aircraft to Delta Air Lines at unduly low prices. As a result, in late September 2017, the U.S. Department of Commerce proposed a 219% tariff on C-Series aircraft to be imported into the U.S. A final decision on the tariff will be made in spring 2018. Nonetheless, Th.
Please subscribe and thanks for watching.